Hello, I am Moon, and welcome to another tutorial. If you have not already gotten set up, you should probably set up first. Otherwise, we're going to go through how to make a pet in MagickML. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my pet. Well, I'm going to name my graph, which will become my pet. And we'll probably just focus on the graph side of this and not the entity side of this. And just do this kind of in the terminal. So I'm going to name him, this will be Charmander. Because I don't know about you, but I tended to start with the red starter. Okay, so I've got the trigger in, input, and output. So this is my default graph. I just want to make sure that things are working, right? Because if I go down here and I type something in, nothing happens, right? I see that the trigger triggered, but clearly there's no execution flow here. So I'm going to add an echo node here just to kind of get started. If you just want to make sure that things are working, this is really a great way. And usually when I'm setting up or debugging my connectors and stuff, I'm just going to make a simple echo loop. So go to utility, and I will go down to echo. And you can see I have an echo node, and I can just wire that up. And cool, great. Now, if I type in here, well, it still does. It actually executed all the way through, but it didn't bring me any kind of return. It just kind of gave me that. It didn't echo anything back, right? So what do I need to do? Well, I'm going to go, and you can see that the trigger is receiving from playtest, but the input is not. So I'm going to click on add that there. And then also on the output side, I need the output to also have playtest enabled. And then if I type in, you can see, oh, look at that. It's actually echoed in the console. Right. Cool. So I'm going to close this and move this over here a little bit. We'll need a little more space. Another couple things I'd like to do. I'm just going to name the outputs output. And for now, we're keeping all of our inputs and outputs uppercase, and that kind of indicates them. And great. I'm also going to save this file. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff we can do with AI and intent recognition, vector search, embeddings, matching, all kinds of stuff. But that's all pretty complicated. And I think that we just want to start with something really simple, which would be like if you were making a bot, you would kind of imagine that the first way that you would make the bot is you would probably look out for special words that people said. And then you would respond to those words in some kind of way. And you could probably build some really complex behavior entirely through that, right? Like you could, if they said, hey, Charmander, catch the ball. Well, I mean, that would take a lot of effort, but you could probably figure out, okay, hey, my name. Okay, so let's parse that. And then catch the ball. Like, well, catch is actually from my word verb list, and then ball is a noun, and then I go and say, okay, well, they have a relationship between each other, and there's all this stuff I could do until finally I could be like, cool, Charmander has caught the ball. And this basic sort of string matching, replacing, responding is sort of the essence of early NLP. And actually, the first NLP project ever is called ELIZA. And that project, not the ELIZA that we're working on, which is actually an homage to that idea, but the first one was made way, way long time ago and was really just like people would say, I feel sad. And it would say, why did you feel sad? Because blah, blah, blah. Well, blah, 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 blah. And so it was basically just building this kind of therapist through this call and response of string parsing. So that can get really deep. You can do some of that here in Magic, some of it with code. There's a lot of different ways to build out complex graphs. We're going to keep it very simple for now. We're just going to do, I'm going to show off a few different nodes that can help you with this, but you could definitely go farther. So one thing to know is that if you're ever stuck on like what node to use, you can always just use the code node. And I mean, obviously you have to know how to code, but right now this works in JavaScript, and we have a Python code node coming soon, so you'll be able to do this in Python. The goal of the code node is that you can basically define like an input, and an output, and then you can actually get the input and the output in here. So I could say const input equals inputs.input, and you can see that it's calling this worker function. Like this is arbitrary code. It's calling this worker function, and it has an inputs object. And I'm creating input, and then I'm just going to return output is input. And so this would be, if I save this, right? Well, this would actually be the exact, this is an echo node, right? I can name this. And so when I'm prototyping nodes, and I don't want to like go and save and rebuild and test them, I'll just prototype them in here. And usually I'll build them out later, or as I'm going in regular nodes. I like the regular nodes because they're really easy to read. They're pure functions. They have kind of a guarantee that once they're wired up, they do what you want. And also, as we build up these graphs, we build up something that the system itself can understand. It'll be able to generate its own graphs later. So not to get too deep into it, sorry, but here I'm going to actually just demonstrate using this code node really quick. We'll replace the echo node with it, and hopefully it still echoes. It's supposed to do the exact same thing. Well, oh, I have to do it from this side. Let me just kill those. And there we go. Save. And if I say echo, you can see it echoes. And you can see the green execution happens. Everything is good. So we're not going to use a code node for this, though. This is probably a little bit out of scope for people who don't know how to code. And I think that one of the real beauties of Magic is that you can do quite a lot without ever having to worry about code at all. But also this is really nice because if you were really stuck, somebody could be like, well, hey, here's a snippet, and send it to you and solve like some sort of critical problem you have. And so it's a really useful Swiss Army knife. So we're going to delete that, though. And we're going to delete our echo. And we're gonna make a simple kind of command. I think the first command we should have is, well, you always have to like feed your pet. So we're just gonna say /feed, right? That's gonna be our first command. And we'll have some response, and we'll have a few different responses, maybe some random responses coming, right? So the first thing, let's just do the first part though. Let's actually detect whether feed was happening. So I'll use, let's see, what should I use for that? Well, we have a strange node in here called the complex string matcher. We're probably going to be mostly using string nodes here. So the complex string matcher does all kinds of weird stuff. It can match the beginning, it can invalidate the beginning, it can match the end, validate the end, or it can match any and invalidate any. So what that means, what do we mean by that? Well, if I just want a simple anywhere in the string that is, anywhere in the message that I'm receiving, fire true if it contains that. And if it doesn't contain it, then fire false. Well, how would I do that, right? Let's just say banana, right? And if banana is there, then we will output true. Now, to output true, well, we'll just drive the outputs there, right? And we'll say true there. And if it's false, it won't output at all. At least it shouldn't. And so this would be like a basic string matching evaluator, right? Pass the input through if it matches banana. I'm going to say the spell. And if I say hot dog, nothing happens. What if I say banana? Oh, we get banana responded. Okay, great. So that means it did something, right? So we can use this for all kinds of different stuff. I use this for really fast intent recognizer. So let's do another one. Let's say we want to detect, well, let's say we want to detect hello. Okay, so cool. And then I'll put that at the beginning. So we're only going to match hello if it's at the beginning of a sentence. And we're also going to match hey, right? We'll match hello or hey. And I'm going to say, it's very specific. We'll probably add some better validation, but right now, hello and hey, and make sure that like these will work if they're spaced that way, right? If you add a space after it, I'm not sure if that'll get trimmed. You can try that. But we'll start with hello and hey. Now we're also going to invalidate goodbye. So if I say goodbye, this is definitely going to be wrong, right? I mean, I can't really say hello and goodbye at the beginning. But I could, well, let's say more like this. Let's say I put goodbye in the match, no, in the invalidate any. So if I say hello or hey, then ring true. Unless I say goodbye. Invalidate if anywhere in this sentence I have said goodbye. Does that make sense? So match at the beginning says yes. And then invalidate any says, oh, yes, absolutely no. Right? I can have another one, like hi. And then maybe I could have like an invalidate, which is like hip, you know. I don't know. Like, this makes no sense, but I could just do this, right? Hint. And that way hi wouldn't be like, oh, well, you said it there or something. I don't know. Right? So I might have a complex string match like this. I could also have a minimum string length and a maximum. So like maybe 1, you know. So if you type O, well, that's not even going to be evaluated for sure. And maybe a maximum, like, well, if you're typing hello there, blah, 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 I am a blah, blah, blah. Okay, then maybe that might be something really complex. Maybe that's not just like a simple greeting. And I need to deal with that with like some kind of machine learning solution, right? So the goal here, if I'm doing like a string match, isn't always, sometimes it's to get like a command, right? And the command is deterministic. It's always the same way. Sometimes I just want to save myself some time and money by doing a fast, like, you know, this is a really, really fast approach. And it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost any computation. It doesn't need to run through a model. And I'll just be like, well, they said hello. So if they said hello, then, you know, that's a greeting. And I can respond to that with something that's just like a greeting. Make sense? So let's try this, right? I type in hello. And it works and responds hello, right? Let's do something a little fancier. Let's actually leave that there. I'm going to show you one other thing really quick. I'm going to use the default here, and I'm going to say greeting. Just basically what's going to happen is it's going to use this value instead of whatever I type in. But, well, no, that's actually a bad idea, because I would need to have 2. Let me not do that. Scratch that. But I can do that if I want to. Let's see. I should have I'll use a string variable. So I have a string variable here. I'm going to plug that in this way by adding it to the output. And I'm going to name it is greeting, right? And I'm going to say is greeting. Cool. And that way, if it outputs, it should output is greeting. And I don't need a default value here, actually, for this. And that way, I can say hello, and you can say it is greeting. That's just like a little bit better, I think. It makes a little more sense. So I have my complex string matcher. Let's say I type hit me. Nope, doesn't match because, well, if I type hi, it does match, but hit does not match because even though it tried to match hi, it didn't match it. Now, you can get in some really like funky testing this a lot to get every single edge case sort of situation. I do not recommend doing this all the time, but it's a really great way to kind of get started, right? And then let's say I say hello. Of course, it's a greeting, but what about hello, goodbye? It is not a greeting, right? It did not respond. Okay, cool. So now I think we're kind of set up to do some sort of command. Now, we could do something really, really simple. Like if we match a slash at the beginning, now we're doing slash commands, right? And so that's going to be like our pet mode. Cool. Now let's just do, we'll rename this. We'll say is slash. Right? Hello. Didn't respond because, well, it's not a slash. And let's say feed. Okay, is slash, right? Super helpful. Great. So, okay, what is our first thing we're going to do? Well, I guess we got to feed the pet, right? So, we want the pet to respond with something, something interesting and unique. For now, we're just going to bring a random string in. So I will go in here, And let's see, I will add a random string from list. Here we go, random phrase from list. Okay, so the random phrase from list is going to grab any one of a random phrase that I type in here. So I'm going to say, yum, yum, yum. Charmander loves the food, the delicious meal, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, yuck, that was gross. Charmander spit out the food. Charmander seems to appreciate the offering, right? A little bit of Goldilocks here. Just a few different things, kind of as an example. Okay, cool. We don't need to be too creative. So then we're going to take this and we're going to have to trigger it. And we'll only trigger it in the case of this true being true. Great. So we will place this, well, okay, so I will not need this kind of is slash here because we're going to assume that we're kind of triggering from here, right? I could have something that validated that said, hey, this is not slash, and that could tell us, or you know, maybe we'll add that later. For now, we'll just say, like, if this happens, we're going to send this into here. And we will save. And then we will try it. We'll say slash feed. Yum, yum, yum. Charmander loves a delicious meal. Slash feed. Yuck, that was gross. Charmander spit out the food. Okay, great. So you can imagine that this is like super helpful for, you're like, hey, hi, hello, how's it going? You know, this is a really quick way to build quick greetings, goodbyes, and even in my bots where I have a lot of complexity, I love it. It's really easy for me to add character and have them kind of respond dynamically to people. I can also make these have like templates for, you know, the speaker's name and stuff, you know, whoever they're talking to. So it can feel very dynamic, but it doesn't cost us anything. We don't have to run any AI yet. And especially when you're doing this at scale, like, you know, it's cool to run the AI, but after a while you're like, how many times do I need to say goodbye through, you know, GPT-3? I think I could probably just, you know, figure out some creative things to say here. So I use this all the time in all of my agent stuff, but especially for pets, I think it's very useful. So cool. Let's add a couple more of these and let's kind of chain them together. So I'll delete some of these comments. I'm just going to right-click, and I'm going to clone. So if I clone, I have another one. I could just go and create one, but, you know, it's a little easier. Okay, cool. What's another thing we should do? Well, we want, like, slash pet. I like slash pet. Oh, we'll have to clone this as well. Now, this one we're going to match slash pet. Oh. Also, I'm sorry. I realized I missed a step. We should, this slash feed worked, but that's actually not what we want. We probably want this slash to go into a slash feed, right? So let's move these off to the side real quick. And let's just talk about what we're doing. So we have our string matcher, which matches the slash. Now we have a string matcher, and this one's going to match slash feed. And that way we can do a whole thing up here for our pet, and then down here, if we had things that were not slashes, we could handle them differently, right? This is also useful if you have like a Discord bot. You need some commands, but you still want them to be like in character. Okay, cool. So you have this slash that hits up here, and we're going to pass the string up to that one as well from the input. And we're going to match slash feed. And so if we do match slash feed, we're going to spit out this one of these random phrases, and that's going to go to our output. Cool. And then if we don't spit out slash feed, we'll chain it to the next one, and we can send the input to that one as well. And now for this one, slash pet. So slash pet, and we'll say Charmander loves the affection. Charmander seems annoyed. Charmander breathes fire at you. Yikes. You know, pets are really it's a challenging thing. You really gotta get to know when they're in the mood. So if true, then we'll send it to the phrase, of course. And then we can just send this in. So some inputs will only take one input, and we'll handle that. But outputs are actually pretty interesting. And the way they handle propagation is that they'll just take whatever the first input that arrives is. So since these are both being pushed from triggers, see how the trigger hits, and then it's like, cool, now we're going to go to the next one. It's going to just say, well, whichever one of these fires first, it's probably going to grab. If we have any issues with this, we can use an exclusive gate. I would also say that, well, let's just try it this way, and I'll introduce the exclusive gate later, right? Okay, so we have two conditions. If it's a slash, well, three now. If it's a slash, then check if it's slash feed. If it is slash feed, then trigger a random phrase from the list and output it. If it's not a slash feed, well, check if it's a slash pet. And if it's a slash pet, trigger another random one, right? Great. And then output that. Now let's have one more condition, which is what happens if there is no command available, right? So we're going to take this complex string matcher, and well, actually we don't need that if we don't have any. We don't really even need to match that, right? We could match some other abilities here, but you can kind of imagine adding the other things. And I will just let's see. I think I'll actually just use an echo node in this case. So in the case that we have a failure, sometimes I want to drive another input in here. And so the echo node can also be a good utility for this. So what I'll do is I will make a, a few shot. And a few shot is just like it's kind of like a string variable. I could actually probably just use my string variable. They're basically the same, right? No, I don't like how that is. That looks so ugly. Sorry, it looks fine for making a string, but it looks terrible for making a sentence that I'm trying to make. So we'll go back here, and we'll go back to our few shot. Great. And let's call that invalid command. Cool. That's what I'm trying to do. So we will say invalid command. The commands are slash pet and slash feed. Right? Maybe we'll add these little ticks, because those will look super nice in Discord later. Okay? And then we're going to put this into our echo node. And then our failure case here will go into our trigger. And then from our trigger, we can put that in here, and that in here. Like this. Great. And so let's just review this one more time. You hit the slash, it matches and says yes, we are a slash. And we're going to call slash feed in that case. And if it is slash feed, then we will run one of these. If it's not slash feed, we will check if it's slash pet. And if it is, we will run one of these. And if it's not slash pet, we will tell them it is an invalid command. We will echo this prompt, right? Let's try it. Hello. Well, nothing happens for hello. Should we just have some kind of case for things that are not handled here as well? I mean, that makes sense. Maybe we'll just clone this echo and we'll say we'll drive this in and what should we say? We'll say feed Charmander. Type slash pet or slash feed. Feed or pet. I don't know. Sorry, this is terrible. And cool. And then from there, we'll also drive that. And that way, if you were to say something that was not a command, it will respond with maybe an instruction. Okay. There's a funky little bug there. Okay, let's try it. So I say hello. Feed or pet your Charmander. Okay, great. And I type slash pet. Charmander loves the affection. Oh, that's adorable. Slash feed. And Charmander seems to appreciate the offering. Oh, that's very nice. How about slash cuddle? Invalid command. Okay. So, I mean, that's, you can imagine you could do a lot with this. We could go into like breaking up strings. You could break the string up into multiple sections and then say, okay, well, if it's definitely a slash, then what do you feed it? The next word would probably be some sort of food, or the words after that, example. And maybe we'll get into that in another video, but I think this is a good place to kind of end it. I hope that gives you a good idea of where you can go with making pets. All right.